All right, noise gates. We hit compressors. Noise gates have a lot of similarities, but do something really different. What was the first time you used a noise gate?
I will confess, and this is some things we talk about every now and then at our live events. It was years and years before I really knew what a gate did. I mean, no kidding. And I'm talking, I was mixing with A-level bands, huge shows all around the world. I had no idea what gates were. Somebody would always make sure they were inserted. This is back in analog days. So you've heard of that,
Anna,
right?
Anna? Who's Anna?
Anna, last name Log. So,
Cool.
and somebody would patch them in, and I would try to mess around with them and finally get something to work. And sometimes if I went to a festival or a one-off, or I was engineering at another venue, I would just real nonchalantly ask the house guy, "Hey, I'm going to work on the vocals here. Do you mind getting those gates dialed in for me?" Like I was really in a hurry. I'm not kidding. But somebody explained it really well one time, and I remember back when I would spend some summers working on my grandfather's ranch. I know this is freaking you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Helping like wrestle cattle and stuff like that. And it's really interesting, if you open the gate up wide to a field, they would all like run through it. I mean, and you got to get out of the way or you'd get hurt. But if you just open the gate a little bit, it's just like they're kind of dumb animals. They just kind of one at a time file through and just do it. All right. So I start hearing about gates from someone that was really trying to explain it to me. And that's the vision I started having. And I remember it from being a little boy going, oh, okay, you've got a gate and it's closed, so nothing gets through. If we open that gate, the entire signal path of our thing gets through. So now we're going to control basically how far we open it, or how long it stays open when it's open and closes.
How fast we open it.
How fast we open it. Very similar to a compressor.
Yeah.
And the controls are actually labeled the same.
Yep.
It's got attack and release and threshold and all that. So it's just understanding what it does. So the best example of using gates is usually drums. We can use them all across a lot of stuff, but usually kick drums and toms and stuff like that, where you don't want to hear an open tom mic with all the cymbals and all the stuff going through. You want it to only open when it hears the tom hit.
Yep.
And you want it to close where it sounds reasonably like the way the tone of the drum is going away.
You don't want to chop it off.
Don't want to chop it off and feel it naturally.
Yeah.
So once I got that in my head, I'm like, gates, yeah, I got this. But it literally was years and years into being an A-level mixer before I knew that.
Yeah.
So to anybody that's watching this and doesn't know, have hope.
You're in good company.
Yeah, you're in good company.
Yeah.
So we can demonstrate this, I think, pretty easily,
Yep.
Lee, just kind of the same way we did compressors.
Yeah, so it's similar knobs here. Threshold. It's, again, where in the input signal is this gate going to start working? And that's based on input signal. So this will change, again, based on the gain of the microphone before it. So if your gain's too low, your threshold's going to be way down here before the gate's going to open.
Right.
If it's too high, you're not going to have much room at all, which can also backfire on you.
Right.
So with something like a tom, it's really important to get both of these correct.
Right.
So then once the threshold is set, then you have an attack time. And this is a wonderful drawing here. Right now we're at 65 milliseconds. So this slope up here represents 65 milliseconds of time after the input has crossed the threshold. And now we're fully open at that point.
Right.
After attack, I'm going to go to hold next. Now the hold is the amount of time that the gate is just going to stay open.
So just wide
Stay
open.
wide
Just
open.
wide open.
Everything's going through.
Right. So I'm going to exaggerate here, and this one's set at 486 milliseconds, so almost a half a second. So that's our straight line out to the right here.
Yep.
Next we have release. How much time is it going to take for this gate to close again? So
How slowly will it close?
once the closing process is started, the amount of time it takes from there to completely closed again. So we'll change that to another 500 milliseconds or so. So now from the threshold for attack time, hold, and release, we've got a long time here. 65 milliseconds plus 465 plus 480. So we've got about a second total. That's probably too long for a lot of instruments.
But you know, if it was like a timpani or something that needs a ton of resonance, that would be perfect.
Yeah, it would.
But you figure out some of this explanation, and a gate, the secrecy of like, why do we use a gate or how do we use a gate?
Yeah.
Kind of, it's dispelled.
It's not scary.
It's not scary anymore. So this is a good example.
One more that's really important, range.
Yep.
Okay. So you can actually turn the gate into, it never completely closes.
Right.
Okay. So on your grandpa's ranch, if you were to always leave that gate about a foot open, let's call that 10 dB open.
The dogs can
least
get
the
back
dog
and
can
forth.
get through.
At least the dog can get through.
That's right.
So in a rack tom, the range of -10, now we've turned down the overall signal 10 dB.
Right.
And then once the gate opens, it returns to full volume, but the gate never closes all the way. We're always going to we're still letting 10 dB through. And then you can exaggerate this all the way down. You can take it down to -37.
This is kind of effective. Sometimes we have some of the drummers that will play kind of the floor tom cadence thing that's pretty popular in a lot of worship music now, but they barely play it.
Yeah.
So you have two options at that point. You either have to take your gate out, which means now you've got this wide open mic,
Yeah.
or you use that and adjust it where the low
that's coming
tom
through.
playing still kind of comes through, but maybe at a lower volume.
Yeah.
But it's still not ever going to fully open where like the cymbal next to it isn't going to kill it.
Well, I think what this does is it takes away the sort of anxiety about whether or not to use gates at all.
Right.
Because when I was early in my career and didn't really understand them very well, it was almost like all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
The gate's either fully open or it's closed.
Right.
And if you miss that sweet spot, you're never going to hear the tom,
Right.
or it's never going to be right. So this just kind of helps soften it a little bit, so that it's
good.
It's almost, especially nowadays in worship music, when you've got that sort of floor tom build into the third time to the bridge.
You want to hear all of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But your drummer isn't playing just tom fills.
Right.
So you need something that's going to kind of softly
good.
open and close.